I think the best way to talk about peace, as I have seen it, is to share some of the experiences that I've had in working with young people. And I'm going to go all the way back to 1993 when I was in Vienna for the 1993 Children's Conference on Peace. And this was an opportunity for me to spend a week with 140 amazing young children from about 35 different countries who came together to say, what can we as young people do about creating a world at peace? And without going into the details of what we did every day, just to give you some of the highlights, I was continuously encouraged and given hope by the young people who would stand up together and say, we want the world to change. In particular, I remember one evening when a young Palestinian boy and a young Israeli boy stood next to each other, and they looked at each other and they said, we are 12 and 13 and we play together, we have fun, we go to school, and yet when you turn 18, when I turn 18, we are going to join the military and will most probably fight against each other. This is not right. What can we do to avoid that? All of us who were assembled looked at them, they looked at us, and in that moment we knew that peace in the world rested in the hands of these young people. On another evening, there was a young man from Ireland and a young woman, and they stood up together, and they were on either side of the violence in Ireland. And they looked at each other and very plainly said, your people are responsible for some of my family and friends who have died. And the young man looked at the woman and said, your people are responsible for some of the my family and friends who have died. But what can we do to stop that? What can you and I do so that when we are in positions of power, we can stop the fighting, stop the violence? But even more than that, they did not want to wait until they were in positions of power. They wanted to do something right then, to send a message to their prime ministers, to send a message to their leaders and say, we are tired of the violence. I was struck by the candor. I was struck by their ability to go right to the root of what was happening in their communities and know that only with dialogue, only with true honesty of putting everything on the table could they come to a place of resolution, could they come to a place of understanding, could they come to a place of building. In 1993, as you know, it was right when the Bosnia situation was at its height, and the refugee situation was in full swing, and the refugees were leaving Bosnia and fleeing to Croatia. I had an opportunity to spend time in the Croatian refugee camps working with children, and that opportunity came in Vienna because about 9 of the young people came to Vienna to say, we have fled from our towns, from our villages, with nothing but the clothes on our back. And here we are with other young people who have also been in these kinds of situations. And what can we do? And again, I remember 2 young men, Ivor and Jeliko. They stood next to each other and they looked at each other, and it was the same kind of poignancy that had been exhibited in other young men that had stood together. And their question was the same: Why? Why are we in this situation? I don't want to fight against your people. I know your people don't want to fight against me. So why are we here? Why are we in this terrible situation? I see my sister, I see my brother, I see my mother crying every day. Why? And they looked at each other and they embraced and they said, we are going to be the change. They said, if our parents don't have the courage, if our leaders don't have the courage, we as young people must have the courage to change the way that we live, to change the way that we are together. My name is Masankho Banda. I am originally from Malawi in Central Africa, and I came to the United States in 1987 as a refugee. Malawi was ruled by President Banda as a dictatorship, and as a result of his rule, my father, Aleki Banda, spent 12 years as a political prisoner. And as a result of that, I was denied access to higher education in my country, and the only option that I had was to leave. And I was fortunate to have some people in my country who were able to help me to get out in 1987, and I came to the United States of America. Spent 4 years in Ohio, where I got my BA in theater and dance, and then from Ohio moved to California. And in moving to California, I decided that I wanted to dedicate my life to peace and justice. I had grown up in a country where children were repeatedly the victims of an unjust government, and it felt to me the right thing to do to dedicate my life to use my talents as a dancer and a singer in this arena. I had a choice coming out of college of either going to New York or trying to go to LA to pursue my acting career, but I thought no, my talents would be best used in helping and in doing whatever I could to creating a better world. And my making that decision is what brought me in contact with Pathways to Peace. And Pathways to Peace has been for me, the home where I've been able to do my work as an advocate for peace, as a person working to make the world a better place. And I am about to share with you some of the stories of the work that I have done under the umbrella of Pathways to Peace. And but before I share that, I think it's important for you to know how I came to come into contact with Pathways to Peace, how I came to come into contact with Avon Madison, who is the president of Pathways to Peace. It is one of those stories where sometimes when I tell it, it seems even not so much far-fetched, but it's one of those stories of synchronicity that has come to symbolize a lot of how work has happened for me and how my journey in the world has happened. The coming of right purpose and being at the right place in the right time. I was in Washington, D.C., having coffee with a friend. Her name is Yumi. And we were just talking, and I was telling her about my upbringing. I was telling her about my grandparents and about storytelling and about dance and about how that informed who I was as a human being. And then I was telling her about my love of working with children. And she looked at me and she asked me, quite innocently, "Do you know Avon Madison?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Avon is somebody who you should know. When you go back to California, give her a call." Well, when I got back to California, I picked up the phone and I called Avon Madison and I said, "Hello, my name is Masankho," and I was talking to Yumi Sarah, at which point she said, "Oh, how is Yumi?" They had known each other for quite a while and they had worked together. And as we talked, it became clear to Avon that I was somebody she should meet. And they were having a meeting, and she invited me to attend this meeting. I showed up in the meeting. I'm the kind of person who listens to a person and has a conversation and knows that, oh yes, there is a lot in this conversation and this is something that I should follow up. So I ended up at this meeting, and it happened to be the planning meeting for the 1993 Children's Conference on Peace that was going to be held in Vienna. And as a person who had worked with children, as a person who was a dancer and a storyteller, I was asked for some of the ideas that I had as to how the conference should be carried, what should be some of the elements that would help the children who are coming to this conference really be able to bring out their ideas for the peaceful world that they wanted to live in. And it became very clear to me in this conversation that not only was Avon Madison as president of Pathways to Peace, but that the organization Pathways to Peace had a clear understanding of the role that young people could play when given the right situation, when given all the tools, the role that young people could play in creating a peaceful world. And I was totally in sync with those ideas, and we ended up having an amazing meeting. But what was really amazing for me was that at the end of the meeting, I got to learn another gem about how to work in the world, because Avon was able, in her wisdom, to see how in that meeting and with the ideas that we had shared, that there was a shift that needed to happen. She was scheduled to go to this conference to be one of the facilitators, but in realizing what had transpired in the meeting, in her wisdom, she saw that I could be able to reach the children with my dance, with my storytelling, in a way that would really open them up to their creativity in creating peace. And she did something that to this day I am very grateful for. She looked at me and she said, I think you should go instead of me, because I have seen something in you that I want the children in Austria, I want the children in Vienna to see. I was very humbled by this gesture and gladly accepted the challenge of flying halfway around the world and spending a week to 10 days with 140 young children from all over the world. This was a clear example of mentorship, of an elder saying to a young protege, I was in my 20s at the time, it is time for you to step up into your leadership in the peace movement. And I was very grateful for that privilege and for that honor, which turned out to be the launching of the 6 years that I've been working now with Pathways to Peace, in which we have made a lot of strides in bringing young people to the forefront of the peace movement in a way that they are able to tell their stories, and in a way that they are able to move people from the stuck places where they are to initiating change and bringing peace to their communities. This has been a journey for me of discovery, a journey that Pathways to Peace has continuously seen, and it's not only with me. In my travels in Europe, in the work that I've done here in the Bay Area, in Larkspur, in San Rafael, in San Francisco, working with young people and turning their lives around, Pathways to Peace has been there every step of the way, providing guidance, providing tools, providing arenas for young people to express themselves and to be true change agents in the world that we are trying to create. Okay. It is important to mention here that for Pathways to Peace, this work is local in that we are here in the United States, and this is where we begin, because you cannot fix anything outside of home before you have taken care of what is around you every single day. So the work that we are doing, the peace work with the children, starts here in California and then extends out to the world. At the end of our time in Vienna at the 1993 conference, what happened was that, and again, the birth of a project or the birth of an idea starts usually very innocently. Every evening after our days of working and putting together the statement that the children are going to read to the United Nations General Assembly, because our conference paralleled the United Nations conference that was happening at the same time, and because we work so closely with the United Nations, the children were preparing a statement which they were to read at the General Assembly. In the evenings, we had our cultural times together. And this is where my experience as a dancer and a storyteller really came into being. And it was also where, Pathways understood that in order to develop the child, it was not only about the working and the writing and the scrolling and the workshops during the day, but it was allowing the children to have their time in the evening, to express who they were, to bring us their culture so that we could share in that. And we had dancing from Israel. We had the kids that came from Siberia put on their costumes and read stories to us. We had the kids that came from Sierra Leone, the young boy that came from Sierra Leone, Andrew, who was 11 at the time, do a dance and do some reading. But on the last day, 3 young girls from Croatia who had been living in the refugee camps came up to me and they said they wanted to learn how to do hip-hop. So being a dancer, I said, no problem. And we put together a hip-hop little dance number, and they performed. Now, because we had had such a short time to rehearse, they didn't know the whole dance. So I was standing in front of them, leading them in some of the movements. After they danced, everybody was just so happy. And Ivana, their chaperone who had come with them, tears were just coming down her face. And she came up to me and she gave me a hug and she looked me in the eye and she said, Masankho, I have been with these children for 2 years in their camps. I have never seen them so happy. Would you come to Croatia and dance with the children? Without missing a beat, I said, Ivana, I will be there next year. I came back to California after the success of our conference, after the young people had gone away back to their countries full of energy, full of hope. And I must say here, before I continue with the story about Croatia, that Pathways as model that comes through all of us who work for Pathways of empowering the young people. One of the things that came out of the conference in Croatia was that some of the children that went back to Zagreb, some of the children that went back to Austria, then back to Germany, decided to form a young people's European Parliament because they said, oh, we can actually do this. We can be young people and get together every year and talk about what's going on in our countries. This was a direct result of the Pathways model of empowering young people to take peace and make it a daily act in their lives, in their communities. I came back to California full of the success of this meeting, full of the success of our time together, and I shared with Avon and the Pathways board, and I said, the children in Croatia, They need music, they need dance, they need peace, and they need to find a way to express themselves, and they've asked me to go. Okay, how can we make it happen? Come up with a plan and we'll make it happen. And so the Children's Peace Education Project was born out of a need to go and share myself in any way that I could in Croatia. Pathways to Peace, an organization then called Earth Train, got together, and the next year, 3 people, we went to Croatia. We spent 3 weeks with the children in the camps, dancing, singing, and learning about non-violent conflict resolution. For them, what they were most concerned with was, we have been hurt, we have been kicked out of our homes. What can we do? Do we take revenge against our aggressors? No. You hold out your hand. You build bridges. This was the message that the young people wanted to hear. I remember sitting across from a 17-year-old young man, and he turned around to me and he said, "Now what do I do?" And I said to him, go inside. Go inside to where you can find peace. And whatever you find there, bring it out and help other young people, help other young teenagers who are angry. You can be an example in what you can do. This is something that doesn't take a lot of planning or doesn't take a lot of organizing. Peace begins with ourselves looking inside and saying, what do I have to offer? This was the message that I took to young people. And then the music. I must share this. I taught the children this one song, which is a greeting in Africa. And it's an invocation song. And I taught the children of the refugee camps. And I'm going to share it with you now. It's a very simple song. And it goes like this. Baba yo, Baba aye, Baba lorisha, Baba okay, Baba yo, Baba aye, Baba lorisha, Baba okay. I sang this song with the children, reminding them that they could sing this song to connect with their ancestors, that they could sing this song to connect with God, because that's how we use this song in Africa. That was in April when I first went to Croatia. When I went back in September of the same year, this time taking 10 people to be with us so that we could actually do workshops with more than the children in the camps. I remember I arrived at a refugee camp and I got out of the car, and from all corners of the camp I heard the children singing this song as they came to greet me. Baba yo, Baba aye, Baba lorisha, Baba okay. They remembered a very simple gesture, a very simple song that brought peace to their hearts. They remembered. And I must say something about the second trip to Croatia. The second trip to Croatia was bigger than the first in that there were 10 of us who went. Again, Pathways to Peace in its infinite wisdom said, okay, 3 people can go and be at a refugee camp and create a lot of change. But if we send 10 young people to go to Zagreb, the capital of Croatia, and engage with other young people in this model of teaching others to then teach others, we were able to have a 2-day workshop with 10 people, teach them the principles of nonviolent communication, teach them the principles of mediation, and then those 10 people with us had a workshop with 500 other people, and they became the teachers. We then became just the helpers and the facilitators, and they, the 10, taught others. When you teach one person to be peaceful, that one person teaches another person to be peaceful, and so it ripples on out. This is a model that anybody can do. And it's not something that is scientific or philosophy. It is just one person sitting down with another person and saying, this is how I am peaceful. This is how you can be peaceful with your friend on the playground. This is how you can be peaceful with your friend in the family. This is how you can be peaceful with your friends in your community. From one person, from one organization to another organization. Pathways to Peace, working with Sunsokret, which means sunflower in Croatian. Pathways to Peace, working with Earth Train. Pathways to Peace, working with the United Nations. Cooperation is in the middle of our mission. We can't do this ourselves as an organization. We find other people who are also looking for ways, and we share ideas. What do we do in this situation? What do we do in this situation? Oh, okay, we have refugees here. We can take the message of peace to them. We have violence here. We can take the message of peace to them. We can take the practical tools of helping each other. And this is what the Children's Peace Education Project, which has now evolved into the Cultures of Peace Education Project, has been doing all these years. I have gone into juvenile centers, gone into the San Francisco Youth Guidance Center, the Marin Juvenile Center, and sat down with young people and said, I am going to, through example of what I know, share with you some of the things, share with you Gandhi's story, share with you Martin Luther King's story. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to be with you as you see in your own life. You're here in this institution of incarceration, and I'm not going to blame you. I'm not going to condemn you. I am going to love you. Because in loving you, I can show you how you can love yourself, so that when you walk out that gate, you close that gate behind you and don't come back. And this has been the strength of my message, the strength of my message, which is inspired daily, weekly, by the example that is set forth by Pathways to Peace, by Avon Madison, by David Wick, by Joni Mizrak, the board of Pathways to Peace, who in their daily lives show that it's not just about doing the work, but it's about being peaceful in everything you do, everything you say, every thought you make, being peaceful. So the work is grounded here in California, in the schools where I go and I dance with children and I sing with children, and I show them daily examples of living in peace. And that ripples out to other children. And so when we take it back to Croatia, when we take it to Africa, where I'm now doing work in Sierra Leone, taking children who were taken from their parents at 6 and 7, taken into the bush and taught nothing but violence. And now they're 15, 16, 17, and that's all they know. And I again take them and sit down with them and share with them this same message of peace, this same message of reconciliation. You can break something, you can build something. Bridges are for building, reaching out. And it was amazing. The young people said, oh, so we can go to the rebels with an olive branch and ask them to put down their guns. And I said, yes. Wow. Where do you learn all this? It's how I've lived my life. It's how we live our life. Standing in solidarity and saying to them, Pathways to Peace and all the people affiliated with Pathways to Peace stand behind you. I showed them the Pathways to Peace, the We the People's Initiative annual report, in which people send us their stories of the work that they're doing for peace. And I said, you are in this report. And being in this report, you are in the company of other peacemakers around the world who are doing the work that you are doing. You are not alone. And when I said that to them, their resolve was strengthened. Wow, we are not alone. And I want to talk a little bit about the model that I have been talking about pathways to peace. One can get a sense in hearing me that here is this organization that is huge and that can do all of these change making events around the world. The truth of the matter is, Pathways is a small organization, but we have stumbled upon, well, no, not stumbled. We have, through meditation, come to find a way of making ourselves as a small organization have far-reaching results and implications. I'm holding up here a little card that says, Imagine a World. And I want to bring your attention to one of the sentences where it says, where beauty, the arts, and media inspire the best in people. And at the bottom, it says, may peace prevail on earth. You are a pathway to peace. In our name is implicit the fact that each and every one of us is a pathway to peace. What we do as an organization, as a small organization with a small staff and currently underfunded, is to take our enthusiasm, our imagination, and our creativity and inspire people to then do peace work. So we speak to one person, they get inspired, they start an organization, they do peace work. We speak to another person here, they get inspired, they start an organization, they do peace work. So in a sense, what we do in our little small corner of the world replicates out. It's like the ripple. If you throw a pebble into a pond, it splashes in one place, but it ripples out and touches all across the pond, all across the ocean, to the far reaches. So we are able, by magnetizing our few resources and by taking our enthusiasm and touching the people in our circles, they then touch other people. An example of that is Gateway to Peace, an organization that I visited in Sierra Leone. They heard about Pathways to Peace. What they did was they said to us, what materials can you send us? And we sent them the few materials that we have, and they looked at it and they were inspired to then start a peace organization in Sierra Leone to meet a very real need. They knew that only they could inspire their countrymen and countrywomen to bring about change. So by just contacting them, or in fact by them contacting us and saying, what can we do? And us sharing with them some ideas, they have taken on the movement and they are making change in Sierra Leone. And so anywhere around the world, this is possible. We are change agents because we are changing ourselves. We evolve ourselves to meet the peace needs of the world. And so we invite you to look in your heart and to say to yourself, what can I do? Well, if I am a pathway to peace, what do I need to do? And the answer will come. And you will be able to magnetize your resources, to magnetize your energy and enthusiasm, and create peace in your community. If everybody around the world did that, looked in their hearts and said, what can I do? And took that enthusiasm and took that question and asked their neighbor, asked their school principal, asked their mayor. Imagine the ripple that could be achieved. Imagine the ripple of peace that would reverberate in all areas, in government, in law, in religion, in business, in culture, in all aspects of our lives. We are a pathway to peace. You and I are a pathway to peace. We are small, but our ideas are big. We are small, but our reach is as big as our hearts and as big as our desire for world peace. You, as you are an individual or an organization, can also have the same kind of reach, the same kind of impact. All you need to do is take the first step to reaching out to your community, to your neighbors, to create a world at peace.
Hello, my name is Avon Madison, and you've heard from our Vice President, Masankho Banda. And welcome to Pathways to Peace. We are, as Masankho said, a very small and quite underfunded at this time organization, but our joy comes in working in cooperation with other organizations and individuals around the world. That is part of the effectiveness. One of the ways in which we express ourselves is through a principle in action that goes as follows. Acting in concert, we do make a difference in the quality of our lives, our institutions, our environment, and our planetary future. Through cooperation, we manifest the essential spirit that unites us amidst our diverse ways. And we put that into practice through the different projects and programs that we work with, particularly our Culture of Peace Education project, which began in '83 and then was resurrected when Masankho came and worked with Pathways to Peace starting in '93. And one of the keynotes of our work is that it is intergenerational and it is intercultural. And another keynote of our work is that we know that by uniting our strengths, we do make a difference. It's only through cooperation with the different qualities and attributes that each person and each organization has that we can truly make a qualitative difference in our planetary future. And what does that mean? Well, it means that something that we set in motion with a common purpose that transcends that which divides us, that is intercultural, that is intergenerational, that is international. When we set something in motion with the specific intention that the purpose of our action is not for immediate personal benefit, but it is rather for long-term benefit for the children and for all life on earth, for succeeding generations, then we take the long view of honoring those who have come before us and those who are going to come after us. And when we do that, we tend to make right decisions that take us from the level of our immediate fears or concerns to the concerns that are shared immediately by all of us throughout all countries, throughout all cultures. Concerns that have to do with the quality of life. That means, what are we doing to the quality of the air and the earth that we live with, to the soil, to the water? What are we doing in terms of the quality of our relationships? Are we in right human relationship with one another? Are we truly acting as a peaceful person? That means, do we generate peace in every thought, word, and action? Because we have that choice, be it in a prison, be it in an organization, be it in a school, wherever we happen to be, we have the choice moment by moment about the quality of person we are going to be and the quality of culture we're going to create around us. Then when we magnify that through our cooperation with another individual, another organization, organization to organization, or intergroup, or internationally, or whatever it is, that means that we become a force that is so powerful if our intention is to build cultures of peace for succeeding generations. Then through the acts of you and myself, through all of us, making that decision that we are going to be a peaceful human being, that we are going to dedicate our lives, no matter how short or long they may be, and no matter how difficult the obstacles, to building cultures of peace, then we can change the course of history. And that we must. My path started as a child during World War II. And as a child, I could not understand people killing people over territory